get a lot of emails from people who say, I don't know what to write about. And they only know that they need to write, but they don't quite know how to get it out. There's a block there. And the biggest piece of advice that I give to them and that I offer myself whenever I feel that block is like, you just have to sit down and dive in. Sometimes it feels like work. We all look at finished products, books, songs, all of them. We look at the finished product and we think that this beautiful piece of work just poured out of someone. And that's not the case.
Ah, yes, the always valuable reminder that you have to put your ass in the chair and work, bitch. We all need to hear that from time to time. And today's episode is all about that, about writing practice, the daily grind of it, the unsexy truth of how we manifest our writing goals by showing up and allowing ourselves to get words on the page, however messy they might be at first. Over the past 6 months, I have been doing that on 750words.com. You might have heard me mention it before on the podcast. I'm not always working on my memoir. Sometimes I let myself work on a newsletter or maybe a writing assignment that I've been procrastinating, or even my diary. But the important thing is the habit that makes it easier for me to commit to showing up every single day and letting myself be bad. And we're going to dive into this topic today with the perfect guest, Kellianne Benson of 750 Words. The sands of 2022 are waning, bleeders, so let's get into it. There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. Welcome to The Bleeders, a podcast and support group about book writing and publishing. I'm writer and podcaster Courtney Kosak, and each week I'll bring you new conversations with authors, agents, and publishers about how to write and sell books.
Hi, my name is Kellianne Benson, and I am the community manager and director for 750 Words.
So, I am a huge fan. I love 750words.com and it's changed my writing practice. But for listeners who may not know, fill everybody in. What is it?
So 750 Words is a habit change application that encourages free writing and tracks your streaks and has a badging system and a point system to gamify things and make it fun. You can get different badges for the amount of time your words are streaking. And there are lots of different badges to get. And then on top of that, it has an algorithm built into it that checks out some of the metrics of your words and tries to get a read on your mood, which is really fun, I think. Not always to be completely trusted because robots are not people and they don't always get nuance, but they're pretty funny to watch.
It is interesting to see sometimes if you're like writing a certain kind of essay or something, and then you're like, oh, that is present focused and, angry, whatever the feeling is. It's so funny. So yeah, I think I have a streak of like 130 days right now.
That's a really good one.
It's a pretty good streak. And I really only missed 2 days since I started. And one was like just a computer glitch, just like something happened and I didn't clicked away too soon or something like that. And then one was like a legit miss. But I mean, that is habit changing because it's been probably like 6 months since I started.
It's interesting because even, I've been working with Buster on 750 Words since the beginning, but really intently for a decade now, 10 years. And I just recently have a streak that is not long, but I'm really proud of it.
Awesome.
It's like, I think I got a flamingo badge the other day for 10 days of writing in a row, which is usually my maximum because I'm just not, it's also work for me. So I'm always typing in it, but I don't always finish. But now I'm really into writing my words every day. And I'm like, how long is this going to go? And I think Buster's at like a 250-day streak right now.
Ooh.
And I think that this is the longest he's gone. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, it really does. I'm super motivated now. I will not go to bed if I haven't finished my writing, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's helping me be better in other ways too. Like I will leave a party early if I have my words to finish. So I'm like, that's probably just good overall. I don't
I
need
won't
to
have
have
that
another
last
drink. Yeah.
cocktail, right? Yeah, it's super motivating. And, we have some users who have been with us since the beginning who have like thousands of days
Whoa.
that they have been streaking. They are amazing. And it is completely a part of their daily writing habit. And I love hearing from them and talking to them. That's the best part of my job is I get to hear from writers around the world. And they're all writers, so I get great emails
Right.
about where they are in their journey.
That's very cool. I want to talk about any success stories that you've heard of in a minute, but first let's get the origin story. So
Yes.
how did this get started?
Well, I was pregnant with Buster and I's first child, who is now 12. And he was reading a lot of self-help books. He's really into self-help books. And we had a long period of our relationship where he would read self-help books and we would sort of summarize and chat about them over dinner, which was great for me because I don't love reading self-help books. And he read this one book about the creative process called The Artist's Way. It's by Julia Cameron. It was written in 1992. And it's all about how she keeps her flow going. And there's just like so much excellent information in there. But our big takeaway, we're both writers in some capacity. And our big takeaway was her chapter on writing what she calls morning pages, which tracks to being about 750 words a day. And she recommends in her book that the morning pages are handwritten. So we had this big conversation of like, do you think that handwritten morning pages is really like, is that kind of a generational thing? Is that something that the kids are going to want to do? And we came to know each other through the live journal community many years ago.
Oh,
so we're both,
I love that.
I know, it's really cute. It's really cute. That's not how we met, but we were in community there. That's kind of what our community back then was based around. And we're very comfortable with typing. So we had this long conversation of like, do you really think it needs to be handwritten to tap into certain parts? And what we came to is like, when you're really in flow, typing is the easiest, fastest way to get the words and the thoughts and the feelings out onto the page. We do both use handwriting for other things. It definitely taps into some different parts of the brain. And it's actually like somatically really interesting to me to think about the different parts that each way of writing sparks for me. But generally speaking, like we want to be typing, and we felt like at the time we were like millennials want to be typing, like our children are going to want to be typing in general. Like we're changing the way things are written and expressed through technology. And he was like, yeah, but there's no app to really just have a clean place to write that counts your words and doesn't have any distractions. And he was like, I could just build one. And he built it really kind of on paternity leave while we were making this baby. And
two babies.
Yeah, there was another baby 6 years later. Yes.
and 750 words.
Yeah, which is, we never expected it to be running and this amazing community all of these years later. We never really expected it to be a small business that we are still maintaining. This was not, the plan was, there was no plan.
I feel like that kind of speaks to like there was no plan and yet it's 10 years later and it's like,
yeah,
you have a big community and I feel like there's so much even growth potential there. So I think that speaks to like how it's helping people. So have you heard any stories? Have you heard back from people that are like, this helped me finish my book? Or
so many stories. There are so many stories of people who are writing their dissertation and they were able to stick to their goals through using our application. People who are writing books. There is a huge NaNoWriMo community out there that uses our app. I hear from poets. I hear from songwriters, and I'm hearing from songwriters more and more because we changed the way you could do verses in the new app. And I write a lot of verse, so I'm really into those changes. I hear from older people, and I hear from very young people who are students. I hear from 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds. It really clicks with a lot of people. And it's really magical for me to talk to those people and to feel connected in this way.
So has it helped you finish anything that you've been working on?
Well, my latest thing in the past few years since COVID, I started to sort of make this move away from writing in memoir and trying to write more in verse, because I felt like my emotions were getting lost in my specifics of describing and getting lost in things that were too personal. And I really just wanted to get to the root and share the core of my feelings during COVID, the dread, the sadness, the connection or lack of connection. Buster and I actually went through a divorce during COVID. And it's funny because it's not something that we've talked about professionally at all. So I'm going to talk about it here on your podcast. But it was a heavy time for both of us. And so for me, locking into the emotion and talking about that instead of the details, because we can get so lost in the details of memoir, became so precious to me. And I started writing a lot more in flow and not caring so much what was written and trying not to overthink it or, get into all of the bad patterns that we can get into when we're journaling, really writing about complaints or writing that is very self-focused. I just really wanted to focus on these universal truths.
That's so beautiful.
And the state of being human. So I started using it in a completely different capacity than I was ever using it before. And we also, during all of this, started to write V2 of 750. It's actually been a couple of years in the making. We launched it last year. But in the initial website, in V1, it doesn't really, it's old. I mean, it was written 12 years ago. It's running on legacy code. Honestly, we're not even sure how it's still going. People still love it. We can no longer fix V1 because fixing it breaks something else. So we decided it was time to write something new. So we took this time of tremendous upheaval in the whole world's life and in our life, and collaborated on this new 750 words baby. And because of the way the old one was written, it couldn't handle the formatting of poetry or verse or songwriting or anything like that. And it didn't matter because the whole thing was supposed to be flow of consciousness.
Yeah. Part of the beauty of it is that you can't do too much formatting.
Right. Exactly. But for the new one, I was like, I gotta be able to write in verse. Everybody started their new hobby in COVID, and mine was I picked up a guitar and became a person I've always wanted to be on the inside, but never could be, which is a songwriter. So I started to write in flow and in verse. And it's been the ability on the new version to do that. And not just to do that, but you can, there's a couple of preferences. You can write in dark screen mode. Buster built a really fun one. I wonder how many people use it. That's called invisible screen mode, where you can't even see what you're typing, which is really fun to experiment with from time to time. So that's some of the changes. It's just cooler. It's new code, and it's updated, and it's slicker. It's just cooler. It has more bells, and it doesn't have too many bells and whistles because that's not what we're into. We want it to be really, really simple, but it's got more bells and whistles.
It's 2.0. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe even 3.0. when was Web 2.0? Like that was probably a little while ago. Are we in Web 3.0 now? I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Look at us. Yeah. Well, I think I'm just such a creature of habit that I'm just like, well, this is working. And so I haven't moved it over yet, but
yeah, a lot of people are. I mean, that's the thing with habit building, right? Like some people are really upset about V2, not many. Most people are really happy. But of course, with any change that you're going to give to someone's habit, people get very protective and defensive. It's really understandable. So I've spent the last year answering all the email about it and answering all the questions and really just like,
it's going to be okay, writers.
it is different. It's going to be okay. Give it a try. You can start new habits.
Does your stuff transfer over?
Yes. You can merge the two accounts and it does transfer over. It's still like if you click on the days in the new version, it really just leads you to a page of the old version, but it all transfers. You would have to start a different account for the second version, but then you merge the two accounts and yeah.
And that's the hard part. That's it.
That's the hard part. But we couldn't really just update the first version because it was just, the code was too old to completely revamp it. Like we've been patching it together for 10 years and we just needed a fresh slate.
Yeah.
So we did it.
Fair enough. How big is the community? I feel like you have like thousands, right? Like 3 or 4.
Yes. I feel like 3,000 or 4,000 is a pretty good estimation. And we have, there are a lot of people who are not active writers who bop in and out. But at any given time, I think there's 3,000 or 4,000 writers, which is so cool. It's so cool.
It's very cool. Okay. Do you guys have any other future plans?
Well, we're still ironing out some kinks in V2. I'm constantly proposing new ideas based on what people write me and based on my use. And of course, Buster uses it every day too. So there's always little tweaks in mind. And we always have, we have a Slack channel with lists of ideas. But the big launch was a year ago. And that was like the big, the big thing that we put forth into the world. And now I think it's mostly just tweaks. But that said, Buster did recently, a couple of months ago, start working for Medium. He hadn't had like a big job in a while and had just been working on 750 while we transitioned everything. And now he's taken on a job with Medium. So there, who knows what could come out of that in collaboration. In the past, we've done some NaNoWriMo stuff. We were very involved in that community for a while. Buster was on the board for a while, and we have a lot of friends who volunteer with them. So yeah, I mean, it's really, I guess, just being a part of this expansive community of wordy people.
I love it. So yeah, this episode is going to be my last one of the year. And I'm kind of talking about my writing goals and just how you can kind of like achieve those things through your daily practice. So I wanted to ask you if you have any big 2023 writing or publishing goals.
I do. Well, in 2022, I managed to write 3 solid songs. So,
nice.
My publishing goal is actually to, I have a vacation where I'm going to record a demo for like right before the start of the year. And then after the start of the year, there will be some tweaking of those tracks before we release it. So my goal is 4 songs that I want to share with the world. I write a lot of songs that I do not want to share with anyone ever. You got to go through a lot of bad to like get out some good. And so my goal is 4 songs in 2023. And I actually would really, really like to complete 365 days of writing. I really want that badge. I've got my eye on it. I'm headed for my albatross now. Albatross is 100 days. And I think that the fact that it's an albatross is really interesting to me because my writing is not quite habitual yet. It does feel like an albatross from time to time. It's not natural that I ease right into it. And then the next one is a griffin, I think is 365 days a year, which is like 12 albatrosses. That thing is huge. It's an eagle and it's a lion. So I really want that griffin.
I want that Griffin badge too. Jeez.
I want that Griffin badge, and I want, 4 songs that I want to publish and give to the world and add to my album.
Awesome. Keep me posted. I will share them with this community. So, do you have any advice for just writers in general who might never have heard of 750 words, or regardless, that are trying to manifest their literary goals this year? Anything you've learned about practice or?
Yeah, I get a lot of emails from people who say, I don't know what to write about. And they only know that they need to write, but they don't quite know how to get it out. There's a block there. And the biggest piece of advice that I give to them and that I offer myself whenever I feel that block is like, you just have to sit down and dive in. Sometimes it feels like work. We all look at finished products, books, songs, all of them. We look at the finished product and we think that this beautiful piece of work just poured out of someone. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case. Like, that's just not that. I'm sure that sometimes it does pour out, but you've got to get past the block first. So I think that the most important thing is to just sit down and write whatever comes to mind. Maybe it's the same word over and over and over again, or the same phrase over and over and over again. That's all part of your process. And it doesn't mean you're not getting anything done, because the journey is long. The journey is long.
That's so good. Yeah. I am constantly reminded of like, you're your own worst enemy. All you have to do is show up and like, let yourself be bad. And that is how you are good. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Let yourself be bad.
Why is that such a hard lesson?
I don't know. We just want to be these like complete beings without without work, and being complete requires some push.
Thank you for making this thing that makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to say a bit easier for me, at least.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for being a part of it. It's just, and for telling people about it. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you so much to Kellianne. That was such a great combo. And I love that she went there with me, like about her divorce and everything. You got to keep it real. So wishing her the best. Like I have been saying, 750words.com has been a game changer for me. I started it about halfway into the year. I am confident I have gotten just like 2x the work done, because I feel obligated to show up every day and like get my little check mark. I'm such a basic bitch, but I think if you recognize that about yourself, you can use it to your advantage. I think you can try it for 30 days for free, and then it's $5 a month, and it is worth every single penny. So for this last part of the episode, I wanted to dive into my goals and what I accomplished in 2022, and then share my goals for 2023. And maybe this will open up some of your own thoughts about your goals for the new year. And I also want to hear from everyone. I am going to encourage everyone to comment in the Substack with their 2023 goals. And I think I want to do a follow-up to this episode next year and interview a few people. So definitely throw your goals in the chat if you'd be interested in participating in that. So, okay, here were my goals and what I accomplished in 2022. I included my screenwriting stuff because I am also a screenwriter, and I've been pursuing that like at least as long as my essay writing. So I'm just including everything related to all writing in this rundown. And I would actually love to cover a little bit more screenwriting on the podcast in the future too. Okay, here goes. So I had a goal to do daily journaling. I didn't quite make that goal. As of this recording, I have 161 entries for this year. So it's not daily, it's like half, but that is close enough for me. I am always wanting to be a daily journaler, but I would say
a multi times a week journaler is also sufficient. I wanted some big bylines, specifically McSweeney's, The New Yorker, and New York Times. I didn't get any of those, but I did get another big byline this year that I have been wanting for years, and that is Cosmopolitan. It's been on my list before. I didn't even think to put it on my list this year, but it just happened kind of serendipitously. An editor I knew, a piece I felt really strongly about, a column that needed that content. So it was just kind of like a beautiful, like serendipitous situation. But I'm so happy it happened. I also wrote 3 articles for Inside Hook this year. I have an amazing editor over there who I know from a writing class. And I did a radio story for KCRW, which was part of my psychedelics reporting. And that was a goal to expand that going into the year. And I had a digital piece related to that. So it's sort of writing related. And writing a radio story is kind of like writing a screenplay and an essay, a reported essay. It's interesting. I also had a goal of finishing a specific pilot that I've been working on. And not only did I finish, but I won a screenwriting competition. I won the Rain Dance script competition. Not only that, but I was a finalist in the Diverse Voices competition. I got a couple quarterfinal placements. I got a double recommend from Stage 32. It's currently on Coverfly's Red List, and it's in the top 1% on Coverfly. So I kind of crushed that one. Check and check. Like I definitely finished the pilot and finished it well. I haven't sold it or set it up anywhere, but I've made some good headway. I would love to do that in 2023, but that's hard to make goals about that external stuff. It's like you don't know when someone's going to buy your thing. So I'm trying to keep my goals things that I can make sure that they happen. I have full control over. So hoping that goes further in the next year, but I really feel like I kind of crushed that goal for this year. So yay. So I wrote a super shitty first draft of 2 other pilots this year. They're bad. They're not like, I would not proudly show them to anyone. I finished them fast, and that was the whole point, was just to finish them and have them be bad and then reassess what I needed to change. And there's a lot that I needed to change. One I have been working on since then, and there's a chance I could finish a full draft worthy of showing other people like by the end of the year, next week. And then the other one I want to finish in 2023. But it was nice to, that's like half the battle is just getting out the vomit draft. So I am proud that I did that for 2 of those pilots. I feel like I crossed the first hurdle. And so I wanted to pat myself on the back for that. I also wanted to finish and sell my essay collection this year, but the thing is, I realized it's actually a memoir, and then I ripped out a bunch of stuff. And really just in the last 5 months, I've been writing and workshopping new stuff to fill in the gaps and like finish it. And in pursuit of that, I took some amazing catapult classes that I freaking loved. One with Chris Malcolm Belk. He wrote Natural Mother of the Child and is brilliant with flash memoir, flash essay. So it was linked flash was the premise of the class. And so it gave me a lot to think about in terms of, how that stuff could be interspersed in my book. And Chris gives great feedback. So that was awesome. And then I took Brian Gresco's essay machine class at Catapult. Brian is an awesome instructor as well. I love the format of that essay machine class. If you ever get a chance to take it, take it. It's great prompts. Chris has great prompts too. Great prompts, and it just like kind of gets you into the rhythm because I think you submit like 5 times, every week. So it keeps you churning out some new stuff. And Brian gives really thoughtful feedback. And then the last class that I just finished was with Mike Scalise. He's amazing. It was about memoir.
It was only 2 workshops in that class because it was much longer. It was like we could submit up to like 6,000 words, or it was like 20 pages of stuff, basically. Mike wrote what I hear is a really great memoir on illness, and I'm really excited to read that. But all those guys were amazing, and I got a lot out of those classes, and it kind of got me back into the zone. And so I know that I have a lot of work left on that memoir, but I have wrapped my head around what I need at this point. And I feel like I'm much closer, and I actually have a reasonable plan to finish in 2023. And I met someone in Mike's class who I'm going to swap with in January. And then I'm swapping with Shelby Hinty in February. So I'm really stoked about both of those. They kind of give me some deadlines to work toward, and I think that's going to be really helpful. I had a goal to finish a book proposal in 2023, and I did that, and I think it's really good. I mean, I don't know. I haven't started shopping it. That is on my list for early 2023, but I have never finished a book proposal. I have started them and been like, what the fuck, this is hard. Or, sometimes it teaches you that you're not ready or you don't totally understand. I think really before, if I kept going, I could have gotten it. But I felt really ready with this premise. And I also realized in putting together my thing, like I have built platform. I hate the idea of it. And I hate that that's so important when it comes to selling these books. And it's always been a thing that made me insecure because I don't have 100,000 Instagram followers, or like I'm not a TikTok superstar. But I've realized that it's actually other things that consist of your platform, and it can be a lot of little things. And I realized in putting together that proposal that I've been slowly growing it kind of in spite of myself. So anyway, it kind of made me feel like I want to teach a class on how to build platform for people that start to feel ill when they hear that term. So I don't know if you have any interest in learning from me about platform building from a hater. Let me know, because I do think that would be a really good class. I wanted to write a novella this year. That was like a really big lofty goal that I had. This other stuff, it's like I've been writing for places for years. Like those bylines weren't crazy. I didn't do that much to try to accomplish them. But like the Cosmo thing didn't surprise me. Finishing the pilot and having it do well didn't surprise me. I've been working on that stuff for years. My essay collection had been in progress. Yada, yada. The book proposal was built on some pre-existing work, a little bit, or like at least premise-wise. And so those things weren't crazy goals, however far I got in them. But this novella thing was like, shoot your shot kind of a thing. And I didn't do it. I kind of had wanted to do it during NaNoWriMo this year, but I just had so many other competing projects. So I just had to prioritize and be like, listen, okay, I need to do this well. I need to do this well. I need to do this well. I don't have time or mental space for this other stuff. And the novella was one of the things. I didn't have the mental space to like get it started in the way that it deserves. But I did some brainstorming that I think is going to help me for when I start the next time, because I intended to start. And so I really went through some of the 90-day novel questions and got in that headspace a little bit and did some good brainstorming. So it wasn't for naught. And I still love the premise. So it's going back on the list for 2023. And I'm really looking forward to when I have time to dig in. And I think it's going to be expansive for me because I haven't written much fictional prose. Obviously, I do it with screenwriting, but yeah, I'm just excited about that idea. I also had a goal that I wanted to read 1 book per week. I didn't count them. I took pictures of most of them as I went. And so if I went through my phone, I could probably reconstruct the list. But I'm going to say between the amount of reading I've done to research guests for this podcast and my other podcast, plus my reading for pleasure
or just like to better myself, I probably read like 25 to 30 books this year. And I acknowledge that that is only about half of my goal. But I think it was definitely more than the previous year. So the trend is positive. And I did get into more of a practice with it. And so I'd like to continue that more in 2023. So those were my biggest, I would say, writing related goals that I had for this past year, which brings us to my goals for the new year. I have a lot of potential goals that I'm mulling over for 2023 as I work on this episode. I love this kind of goal setting and resolution stuff. Even if I'm not always good at it, I like to do it. So I probably won't make my final list until the last day of the year. But these are the big ones that I know for sure. So I want to finish a thorough rewrite of my memoir manuscript. I want it to feel done to me. Like, of course, I'll do a pass with an editor and whatever. But if I try to sell the book, like I'm sending them a done-ish thing that they can give me notes on. And then, we can start from there. It's not like, oh, I'm finishing to get to that point, and then we'll still have another notes pass. I already have like a manuscript that has a lot of pages. I just want it to feel better than it does right now. So that's a goal for 2023. I have another book proposal that I'm working on that I want to finish in early 2023 that I just think is like, oh, such a good premise. And like, I think if I did it right, it would do really well. So that is a high priority. And I've got like kind of the book proposal momentum going for me. So I am stoked about that. I want to finish those 2 pilots that I started this year in 2023 and get those, out into the world. I want to write that novella. And I know that goal is a reach for me, but I would love to make it happen. And then I really genuinely do want to read 52 books this year. I know I can do it. I've gotten way better about making time for it. Just sometimes my work shit gets in the way. But that's the thing, is like in the way that I've kind of started to change my writing practice through like 750words.com, I want to expand that. So like I don't just check the boxes on my 750 words. I like check the boxes on 5 days a week on my manuscript. And, it's like a little bit more. And maybe I have a daily reading practice that really helps me read those 52 books. So we'll see. I think I did a lot of work on my habits in 2022 to reduce the resistance between me and my goals. And I would say 750 words was a big part of that. And so I just want to continue that elevation of daily practice in 2023. Like prioritize that, expand it, whatever that looks like. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it. I just want to continue to carve out more time and space for the work that I think is truly important. And I did a lot of that this year. I like turned down paid work to prioritize my own stuff because I was like, I'm not getting any younger. If I want to do this, like I have to really commit to doing this and like change my life kind of. And so I want to acknowledge that I did a lot of that this year, and I want to really keep doing more. So now I'm throwing it to you. What goals do you want to accomplish this coming year? And just as importantly, have you removed the blocks that might be holding you back? And have you set up a system that will allow you to achieve these goals? I mean, that's the big doubleheader question, right? It's what do you want and how do you get there? So noodle on that for a little bit. And when the Substack drops, I would love to see your 2023 goals in the comments. And I really want to do, like I said, a follow-up episode this next year, and hopefully I can interview some folks. And I hope we have just a baller episode next year where we all get to celebrate each other and what we accomplished
in 2023. So that is it for this edition of The Bleeders. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a special one for me. Make sure you check out the last episode with Alyssa Wilkinson, who went from academic to film critic to author. Her path is totally unique, and it was such a great conversation. Here is a little preview.
The thing to remember, and I do tell younger writers this sometimes, is that the magazine articles you write or whatever, they're kind of written in pencil, where like they're out there, but people don't necessarily think of them as like your one thing that you've written. But a book is in ink, and it will follow you around the rest of your life, and so you better make sure you want your name on that book. And I definitely know younger writers who kind of got excited because a publisher approached them about writing a book, often about their lives, and now they're 40 and regretting it because that was not a story they wanted to give up the way that they did. So I think just be very careful about that kind of thing.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Bleeders. Oh, writing is so much better with friends. I'm your host, Courtney Kosak, and hey, let's connect on social media. I am at Courtney Kosak, Kosak, on Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you're signed up for the Bleeders Companion Substack. The link is in the episode description. And join me again in 2 weeks for another episode in a whole new year. In the meantime, happy bleeding!